My wife was with 32 different men before we got married. Now she has to agree to let me sleep with other women, or we're getting a divorce. My wife and I started dating back in high school, and even then we were already dreaming about married life. Talking about what we'd name our kids, where we'd live, all that stuff. We were even each other's firsts. When it was time to choose universities, I got accepted into the same one she had picked. But I also got offered a spot at one of the top universities in the world. Since we'd always planned for her to be a stay-at-home mom, we decided I should go to the better university to boost my future earning potential, even though it meant we'd be in a long-distance relationship. During my time at university, I did my best to visit her almost every weekend, and I honestly thought things between us were going great. Just last week, we were at a party with some mutual friends, reminiscing about the old days, when one of her friends casually mentioned how wild she was during university. At first, I almost didn't catch it, but when I looked over at my wife, her face had gone pale, and she was giving her friend a look that could kill. I decided not to confront her right then and there, or even on the drive home, but she could tell something was off by how I suddenly went quiet. Once we were home, I made sure our boys, who are 13 and 16, were asleep before I confronted her about what her friend had said. I told her that if I felt she was lying, I'd make her call that friend right then and there to talk about her university days while I listened. She hesitated a bit, but eventually she admitted that she was really into clubbing during university and that it led to several hookups and even a few ongoing friends with benefits situations. She kept saying that she was just an immature kid back then and that I shouldn't hold it against her. At that point, I was afraid I'd lose my temper, so I left the house and spent the night at a hotel. The whole night, she kept texting and calling, alternating between telling me she loves me and giving me every excuse under the sun. She kept insisting that it was no big deal and that things are different now because we're married. But for me, nothing has changed. The fact that we've been married for 18 years doesn't change the reality that she cheated. This whole time, I believed we shared something special, that we were each other's first and only, but now I see that it was all just a lie. I spent a few days really thinking it over, even went so far as to meet with one of my friends who happens to be a divorce lawyer. Despite everything, I still love her and want to work things out, but I can't and won't stay in a marriage where I feel this way. Every time I look at her, I feel a wave of disgust. I feel like I waited for her, even though I had other options, while she made me the butt of a joke. So, 2 days ago, I sat down with her at the table, pen and paper in hand, while our sons were with her parents. I told her to write down the names of the men she'd slept with and give me an estimate of how many times it happened. If she couldn't remember their names, I told her to just make some up. I warned her that if I ever found out she lied about the numbers, I would divorce her immediately, so she needed to be as accurate as possible. In the end, the total came out to about 27 men, with the number of encounters ranging from 1 to 32. Then, I told her that I do want to reconcile, but I have conditions. Since she seems to think that sleeping with others while in a committed relationship is perfectly fine, I told her I would be sleeping with 27 women, the same number of times she just admitted to at times of my choosing without giving her a heads up. I made it clear this was non-negotiable for our reconciliation, and if she disagreed, she needed to tell me right then and there, or I would have my lawyer start drafting the divorce papers. At first, she just looked at me, bewildered, before she started shouting and crying, saying it's different now that we're married and that I would be cheating. I explained that since I was telling her in advance, it wasn't cheating, and if she agreed to this to save our marriage, I would take it as her consent. Since then, she's been trying everything to change my mind, crying day and night, having angry outbursts, offering me anything I want except for that. But nothing's going to make me budge. She either accepts it or we go through with the divorce. I've given her until the end of this week, Friday, to make her decision. I know some people might think I'm overreacting, so let me address that right now. I'm not afraid of getting a divorce. I'm still young enough to meet someone new. Plus, I own a few businesses that put me in contact with some very savvy lawyers who help minimize my taxable income and make smart business decisions that, as a bonus, also protect most of my assets in a divorce. I'll pay more than what's necessary in child support to make sure my kids are well taken care of, but she'll be getting the bare minimum in alimony. In my view, I wouldn't have married her if I'd known she had cheated, so she shouldn't benefit from our marriage. Am I wrong for potentially throwing away an 18-year marriage over infidelity that happened before we tied the knot? Now on to the next story. My wife of 5 years admitted to cheating and is placing the blame on me. We're both 35, and next week marks 5 years together. We've known each other since elementary school, and we're kind of childhood sweethearts. We've been engaged for 2 years, but COVID made a traditional wedding difficult, so we postponed. Until a week ago, we were trying to conceive our first child. 3 days ago, I assumed she had gone to bed while I was reading a book. Out of the blue, she appeared, tears flowing down her face, and confessed, "I'm so very sorry I've cheated on you." I'm certain many of you can understand just how gut-wrenching that moment is. Never in my life had I been hit with such an overwhelming storm of emotions. Rage that burned white-hot, grief so deep it was suffocating, disbelief, hatred, even physical pain all crashing down at once. I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I just started throwing my things together while she trailed behind me like a desperate lost puppy, pleading with me to speak. The only thing I managed to say was right before I left the apartment. "Thank you for telling me." I never thought I could hit a woman, but God forgive me, if she had tried to touch me during that moment, I might have lost it. I'm so thankful she didn't. For the past 72+ hours, I've barely slept. I'm devastated. I can hardly speak in full sentences. My mind is racing, my heart is constantly pounding, my mouth is dry, and yet I'm sweating. It hurts like nothing else. I have so much work to do with the end of the year approaching, a mother diagnosed with cancer to care for, and all I want to do is lie down and cry until I can't anymore. Why do people do this? If you want to have your fun, just leave me. It would still hurt, a lot, but at least you would be showing some respect for me, my dignity, and my feelings. I can't understand how someone can be with another person and then come home and kiss me. Just writing this makes me feel sick. It's disgusting. She called yesterday, and after I composed myself a bit, I returned the call. We had a long talk, mostly civil. She explained that for the past 7 months, she hadn't felt wanted or like a woman. This is somewhat true. I changed jobs and faced a steep learning curve, so I was swamped with work and often exhausted. The situation with my mom also took a toll, so I admit that our bedroom wasn't exactly filled with passion for a while, and that's on me. She gave me a few details. Her partner was another man with a wife and children, someone she met at work. It happened only once, they used protection, but it was planned, not some random drunken encounter at a bar. She knows that I'm not the kind of man who can forgive or forget infidelity. And she's right, it's a red line for me, and I've made that clear to her many times over the years. She said she couldn't bear to lie to me any longer. The affair happened about 3 months ago, even though she knew the consequences. She told me I was the love of her life, that she wanted to grow old together, and that she hates herself for what she did. She said she doesn't recognize the woman she became in that moment, but she completely understands if I never want anything to do with her again. Her only hope is that, if time heals and I somehow find forgiveness in the future, she'll have a clear conscience and won't be living a lie. I don't know what to think. I don't know what's true and what's not. I don't know if I'm seeking advice, a kind word, or just trying to get this off my chest. It's just so painful that I'm constantly screaming inside. Update. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you so much. The fact that you took the time to read through this despite hearing similar stories before and offered guidance, resources, or insight is overwhelming for me. That said, there are a few clarifications I'd like to add. We're not married, just engaged, so there's no legal bond. Thankfully, there won't be any divorce proceedings, lawyers, etc. When I said we were trying to conceive until a week ago, I meant we'd been trying for about 1.5 years. We both got checked out by doctors, and there didn't seem to be any issues that would prevent us from having a baby. But it just didn't happen, and I think this affected her more than she let on. She has a younger sister who recently got pregnant for the second time, and while she was happy for her, I could see that it hurt her as well, like she was asking herself, what's wrong with me/us? Was it stress? Fate? Not enough sex? Bad luck? I don't know. She did communicate the issue to me, and we talked about it at length on a few occasions. I'm not defending her, just stating the facts. We're very different people. She always said that sex was one of, if not the most important part of a relationship. For me, it's important, but not the top priority. I enjoy it, but I don't have a constant craving for it. So I can go a week or two without that kind of intimacy. But she finds that difficult. Apparently, I also had trouble expressing my desire for her, and she communicated that to me before the affair. She always said that sex with me was great. She never turned me down and often initiated it. But she said that even if I wanted her, she hadn't felt it for quite a while, and in the end felt like she was always chasing me rather than the other way around. That hurt her ego and feminine side, I guess. I have to admit that her assessment is mostly accurate. And here's the kicker. I think what prompted her confession was the fact that I had taken steps to be more proactive in our relationship, especially in the past month. I approached her more often, and we were doing well in the bedroom. I don't know if that makes sense to you. During our long conversation, she also expressed a desire to personally explain the reason for our breakup to both her family and mine. She has already spoken to her family. Her father called me yesterday. It was brief, and he essentially said, "I'm very sorry for how things turned out. You know I respect you greatly as a man, and I hope you two can find a way forward if at all possible." She's already reached out to my brother, who knows we've separated but doesn't know why, and they're supposed to talk today or tomorrow. As for my mom, it's a messed up situation and it will likely become clear around Christmas, but she asked if I wanted to handle it any differently. Regarding the other guy and his relationship, many of you suggested finding his wife and explaining the situation to her, but that's not something I can do. My fiance works at her father's family business, and this guy was some kind of contractor among many others they deal with. I really don't have the energy or mental capacity to hunt him down and unravel everything. That's not who I am, and I'm genuinely afraid of what it might do to my sanity if I go down that rabbit hole. I don't know who he is and don't care. I don't know the state of his relationship and don't care. And I don't know any details about whether she was told, by whom, etc. I completely understand where you all are coming from, but playing private investigator and then going scorched earth isn't in my nature. Also, it might sound selfish, and it probably is, but taking that action would likely uncover things that would bring me even more pain, and that's the last thing I need right now. Reading back over everything, it might come off as mild and apologetic, but believe me, it's not. This is just how things are from my perspective. Everything between us is over, and just the thought of any contact with her repulses me. However, I want to present the situation as it is, to the best of my knowledge, not paint myself as the ultimate victim or depict her as some kind of demon. Hopefully, someone can learn something from the implosion of my relationship. Once again, thank you all for every word of encouragement and every piece of advice. I'm deeply humbled. I'll try to update after a few weeks and share how I'm dealing with the aftermath. Update 2. It's been about a week since D-Day. She called almost every day to check up on me. For the first few days, I was too numb and just mumbled yeah on the phone. Eventually, I realized she was taking me on her guilt trip and asked why the hell she kept calling. I haven't seen her since D-Day. One thing led to another and the truth came out. Here's her final version of events. Why did she do it? She planned it as revenge against me, a pity revenge. She wanted to rub my nose in it for all the times I neglected her, for the times our bedroom was silent, for the times I looked right through her as if she didn't exist. Her words almost verbatim. She did it, and she did it more than once. Most of you were right. It wasn't a one-time thing, and she started to develop feelings for the other guy. Why did she tell me? She said she told me because she still loved me, that I was her great love, and she couldn't bear to lie to me any longer. However, she made it clear that she still wants the emotional connection of the affair and intends to continue with it and with him, again, almost verbatim. But if that fizzles out, which she somehow expects it will, she hopes to come back to me with a clear conscience. Basically, she wants and needs the affair right now, but if somewhere down the line I could forgive her, at least there wouldn't be any secrets between us. Needless to say, I was stunned by this. The other guy's wife and kids? Against my better judgment and sounding like a complete idiot, I asked her about the status of his marriage. They were separated. Yes, I checked, and it's true. They don't live together. Not officially divorced, but separated. My mom? She took it like a champ. God, I don't know where she draws her strength from, but in a time when I should have been her rock, she once again became mine. Mom, you'll never read this, but you're the best parent anyone could ever wish for. What have I done? I decided to quit smoking completely, my biggest addiction, give up alcohol, more of a social drinker, but still, cut out energy drinks I'd been consuming a lot more in recent months, and restart my regular exercise routine. It's only been a week, but so far I've managed. How do I feel? I feel like crap. I barely eat, I barely sleep, it feels like I'm in hell. All the images and thoughts come unbidden, overwhelming me, and I struggle to function at all. I'm a simple man who lived by simple rules. Respect your woman, provide as best you can, be faithful. She bulldozed through my sense of self, annihilated my self-respect, my dignity, and my hope. My brother saw me the other day and literally begged me to get my act together, saying I looked like the ghost of a ghost. I've read many stories here since I posted mine, and honestly, you guys and gals have gone through far worse. I'm not married, I have no kids, I have a wonderful family and friends, and a decent job. Some of you have real horror stories, and I'm absolutely humbled that you kept going. Well, I just want to curl up in a ball and disappear. How the hell did it come to this? Update 3. It's been more than a month since D-Day, and honestly, there's not much to update. Some of you asked about her and her affair/relationship. I honestly don't know and don't care. I haven't seen or asked about her. In January, we had only one brief conversation on the 5th or 6th dot. She begged me to call to sort out some final technicalities, asking about towels and blankets and other nonsense. I said, "Are you really calling to arrange the handover of towels? Throw them away, burn them, keep them, I don't care." And that's when she, thankfully, destroyed any last remaining shred of respect I had for her. I called you because I felt weak, but don't take this as a sign of hope for us. That's when it fully hit me what a miserable liar and cheat I've been dealing with. Not only did she nearly destroy my life, not only did she manipulate me into thinking it was as much my fault as hers, but now she's dangling hope for us, like it's something she controls. The sheer audacity. Some of you called her exactly what she is, a parasite that took a good heart and turned it into a wasteland. Absolutely no contact after that. But I'll survive this, and I'll survive her. I'll get better. Not today, not tomorrow, maybe not even in a year, but I will. As for her, at some point in life, we all get what we deserve. When that moment comes, whether it's a week from now or decades later, I won't be there. Let fate sort her out in its own time and way.